Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate how to build a rocket using CSS shapes. So the first thing that I did was create divs in my HTML to hold each shape um, because the rocket is going to be created out of a bunch of smaller shapes. So the first thing is to create a main div that will hold all the shapes, which is going to be the rocket. And the reason I did this is so that I can move all the shapes a little bit off over to the left so that they aren't bumping into the left margin of the page. So I'm giving it a position of relative and moving it over 100 pixels just so it won't be touching the side. Okay, so the first part of the rocket is to build the nose cone, which is a triangle. So to build a triangle with 0, height 0, and then I'm making an equilateral triangle, so the left and right are going to be the same. And then the border bottom is 75 pixels, and we're going to make this nose red. So here we have the top of the rocket. So the next step is to build the body, which we're going to build a rectangle. So this is going to have a width of 100 pixels and height of 200. And let's make this a silver rocket. There we go. Then for a clip art version of this, we're going to put in a little window, which is going to be a circle. So to get that, we're going to do the height and width the same. And then the border radius, half of that. And for what we're looking at, we're going to make it blue so we can see it. And then you can see that I put it at the bottom because it's stacking all the elements in a row. But I want it to be in the middle of the silver body portion. So I'm going to position this absolute. The main div of the rocket is position relative, so I can give this an absolute position, and that will allow me to move it up and over so that I can place it in the center. And then we'll go ahead, now that we can see it and it's in the right place, we'll just cut it out, make a little window. Okay, so next, a right fin. Which is going to be a triangle. This time it will not be equilateral. Actually, maybe it will. But I don't want it centered. We want this to be, so border bottom, 75 pixels, blue, solid blue, and border left. This is the right triangle, but we want it to slant to the left. So 75 pixels, solid, transparent. And there we go. But the same thing here, we need to give it an absolute position so that we can move it into place. And then we'll put it in its spot. There we go. So the left fin is just the opposite triangle. So we could take this code and repeat it here for the left fin, but changing it to be a border right. And then we can see here that it's on the wrong side, so we'll have to obviously change its position to the left. Okay, then I added a little exhaust. Holder, and this is a trapezoid. So border bottom, and I want the bottom of the trapezoid to be longer than the top. So and this side, the left and right, determines the angle of the trapezoid, and the top border bottom determines how wide the shorter side of the trapezoid is. And then width determines the bottom, the wider portion of it. There we go. And then, of course, no rocket would be complete without fire. So I've added a flame, and this one was a lot trickier. This is, I made a rectangle. And then I adjusted the border radius. So I guess it's more, I made an oval. Then I okay. So I made an oval, but the flame, we want the flame to come out a little higher, like be a little wider here at the exhaust. So I just positioned, same thing, I want to move the position, so I'm going to give this a position absolute. Spell correctly. So that I can move it up. But now you can see that it's covering on top. So then I added a z-index of -1, so I can put it below. And I learned this fun thing. I can give this a gradient. And then we can put, we want the gradient to go from the top to the bottom, yellow, orange, red. And there you have a flaming rocket.